Hello. Hi everyone, it's Gus here. I'm a stop motion professional living and working in the UK with experience in theatre, children's entertaining and circus. This is my YouTube channel where I post videos relating to my industry as well as pop culture and whatever I feel like on any given day. Today I'm going to be talking about the first two films in the Fast and the Furious franchise. Sorry, I'm just shuffling my chair. What brought this on was the fact I've been, after working on Chuck Steel, I've been, which is a stop motion film. Sorry, I should explain what it is. It's a stop motion film that I worked on in Wales. That's hopefully coming out at some point. They're sort of trying to look for distribution and that sort of thing at the moment. But that's a film that's kind of a homage to 80s kind of buddy cop, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, kind of shoot 'em up, shoot the bad guys kind of movies. And I've been slowly watching various films from that era, or even this era, that kind of relate to that. I thought, might as well, since I've worked on one of those types of movies, to know all the others, so I'm kind of I've got stuff to reference points to see what the Chuck Steele's been sort of inspired from. So I've been watching the Fast and the Furious movies. Just finished the second one, and I wanted to give some of my thoughts on them. For obviously anyone who's interested, and really just maybe for myself historically, I can look back on this and go, oh, okay, that's what I was thinking at that time. I'm a bit of a filmmaker as well, obviously a stop motion filmmaker, so. This kind of podcast thing, I think is helpful to kind of get my thoughts out there, and any other filmmakers to obviously find me on YouTube and comment their ideas and springboard their ideas against mine, which is why I've kind of got this channel. Anyway, Fast and the Furious, let's talk about it. So, I saw the first one. This is mainly on the second one, I think. This was the Too Fast, Too Furious film I wanted to review in particular. The first film was, I thought it was a bit so-so. It sort of set everything up, I feel, and I watch it kind of like a pilot episode of a TV show. I'm kind of hopeful of the things to come, but kind of not hugely entertained by the first one. And that was mainly because I wasn't sure what the film wanted to be through a lot of it. I know there's a few actors in it now who've now gone on to be amazing kind of performers, worked in a lot of other things. Obviously Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez, and obviously Paul Walker's now gone, but obviously there's others that have come onto it, like Dwayne Johnson and the like. John Cena, I believe. I see a picture of John Cena. Fair enough. A few others. The first one was an odd sort of film because I felt like the character, both with the main hero Paul Walker's character, was it Brian, I think? I'm just going to call him Paul Walker's character Vin Diesel, because they're so iconic, the actors, that it's just kind of hard to imagine them as their film names. I'll double check online and see what their proper names are, but basically Paul Walker's character starts off as sort of like the hero who's just this guy who's doing his thing, and a semi-anti kind of hero. He's kind of rough on the street, he knows the streets, gets into fights and such. Vin Diesel is also depicted as sort of a heroic character, smart-mouthed heroic character. And then halfway through the film you go, oh, okay, so spoilers, Paul Walker's character is a cop, and you go, oh, okay, so he's kind of a hero, okay, proper cop hero, and Vin Diesel is maybe the anti-hero, okay, but he's still a hero. And then towards the end, suddenly Vin Diesel's character becomes full-on bad, like he's working for the baddies, kind of attacking these trucks, stealing stuff from trucks, and mid-highway chase kind of stuff, kind of endangering the lives of all these people and stuff. It's like, oh my god, it's like freaking serious. And it's like, oh, he's that, and it's like, yeah, well, okay, so I guess he's the bad guy now. It's like, oh no, he's all right. And then Paul Walker at the end kind of helps him out throughout the final act, and it's like, okay, so now Paul Walker's a bad guy. So it's like they both your main characters become bad, and it's like, well, okay, fair enough. It's like I'm watching it trying to understand. Like maybe I missed something. I don't know. I saw the film once, so maybe there was a few scenes. I may be daydreaming over a few and scenes and missed something crucial. But it just seemed like both the characters kind of became kind of, you know, baddies. So it was like, all right, you know, they were kind of really likable anti-heroes throughout the first half, but then they were, yeah, just no, they're just bad. I was like, okay. So that was a shame, but you know, it is what it is. But the second one was just much from the start. It was just much clearer film. It knew what it wanted to be. The characters, Paul Walker, and this time he has his co-star who was I can't find the name at the moment, but his co-star who was kind of in a similar position, kind of rough sort of fella, Tyrese. That's it. It's similar sort of buddy kind of situation where they start hating each other, sort of bromance movies, I suppose. Would start out hating each other and then grow to kind of, yeah, respect each other. I wouldn't say necessarily like, that's not the right word. Become friends, maybe not the right word, but definitely have respect each other. Yeah, so the second one from the start was just, I thought was great. I mean, I should say when the Fast and Furious came out, it was early 2000s. I mean, I was just a kid at the time, so that was like, you know, the cool teenagers would like to watch that film, and I wouldn't be let into the theater. So that is much of a muchness. But yeah, I do remember when they first came out, and the kind of the flavor of the time, which you can watch when you watch the films. It's kind of a snapshot of that era, you know, the early 2000 era. At least the first two I've watched. The story of the second one is similar to the first. It's kind of like the main character, Paul Walker, this time is on the run from the police, and he's kind of a, again, likable anti-hero. You know who his character is, you know what he's doing. He's in Miami doing street races, and the first scene is just amazing. I think it's just so far the best I've seen, but probably the best race sequence I've seen in a film with cars. Would be the first sequence of Too Fast, Too Furious, where you have the director, who's I believe is it John Singleton. He's kind of directed it in a way in which it kind of reflects the old westerns, and you can see he's used a lot of kind of anime influence in there as well, which really fun kind of camera angles and actors. They got really great kind of actors with interesting faces. For all the kind of race car drivers to give it a kind of, I don't know, an iconic kind of feel, which a lot of films maybe nowadays don't even have. When you've got all these interesting looking actors in their cars that kind of suit their personalities and appearance, it really kind of, you know, gets me excited. It reminds me of those old, you know, animes I used to watch as a kid, Dragon Ball Z and Digimon, Pokemon, that kind of fun, playful visual. I mean, it's a visual medium, why not go all out a bit, you know? And also the effects, where the sort of special effects of the cars are moving and zipping around each other. It's not like how it is now. It's all like gritty and kind of not even realistic. It just kind of, I don't know, tasteless for me personally. It has this in the early 2000s there was a bit more, they would experiment. They weren't afraid to look a bit silly, you know, and that's one of the things I often don't mind about 80s films and 90s films, is they experiment with visual ideas, you know, like The Matrix was an experiment. You can see this with the way the cars are moving and they're really zipping around. You can see how the Wachowski's used a lot of I think of visuals, I feel like, from the Fast and Furious movies. Was kind of fun, and I'm not sure if it's true, but it's a nice thing to think about. Well, funny, nice for me, because I didn't mind the Star Wars films as a kid, the prequels as a kid. Obviously they're flawed and stuff, but I think there's a lot to answer for in Phantom Menace with the race sequence, because just a few years after that the first Fast and the Furious came out. So I don't know, I get the feeling that the people who made that movie watched that sequence and were like, okay, the world's right for a really good race car movie, you know. So it'd be interesting to hear if that pod race sequence wasn't kind of the inspiration for the Fast and Furious, considering the subject matter is so kind of real and gritty, and, you know, street races and, you know, thug life kind of thing. I think it's inspired from Phantom Menace. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, the visuals are really, really, really fun, and they're really playing with them throughout the first. I said the first half of the movie is great. I love the first half of the movie, but second half is just nuts. It kind of loses its momentum. It had there were great sequences where you have Paul Walker's character kind of meet his old friend I guess the first time, meets him again for the first time after he kind of sold him out for something. I can't remember what it was, but they're kind of frenemies. They're kind of having to work together on this assignment, and they clearly have issues with each other. So you kind of have that enmity between them. And then you have this really great sequence where they're which is fantastic. There's this kind of race where they have to do this job for a crime boss, and they're driving in their cars, and they have to get to this location which the crime boss is testing them to see if they're eligible to work for him. And he's got this. They need to get to this place, and they're kind of racing against all the other drivers to get there first. And they start out kind of taking the mick out of each other while they're driving, and kind of giving each other the finger and stuff. And then over the race, while they're kind of dodging sort of dangerous situations and kind of getting their cars crushed and whatever under trailers and such, in the race itself, they kind of start respecting each other. So by the end of the race, when they kind of take the prize, they're clearly like mates. So you have that kind of action. What you want to see in film is when action sequences kind of move the plot forward. It's not just like some point A to point B. You actually have the characters develop during the action sequence. So I thought that was just really fantastic to see. The writers and directors or filmmakers who were involved in that. Brilliant. Another great sequence is you have Tyrese's character having kind of this little tiff with one of the police, I think, officers, and the officer, throughout the story, they're having this little kind of riff between them. And there's this scene where the officer has, I don't know, he's just bought this meal for himself, and Tyrese just picks it up and eats it, and the officer's like, "What? That's mine." And he said, "Yeah, fair enough," and he just carries on eating it. But it's done really well because you have this info dump with Paul Walker's character getting all this info, what the audience needs to know for the rest of the movie, of who the bad guys are and what they are and what they're trying to do, and it's just a big info dump, which can often be quite boring. But in the film, you have in the background when you see Paul Walker, receiving his information. He's listening to the head officer, talk about what he needs to know. In the background, you have Tyrese's character kind of eating the food of the other officer who he's having a tiff with, who comes in obviously more in a much greater way later in the film as one of the antagonists, I guess you'd say. And then when it shoots to the head officer, in the background you see this kind of other officer who's had his food eaten, and you just see they're all both blurred. Tyrese and this officer are both blurred in the background, but you just get so much just their little blurred head movements of their character, and there's this kind of tiff going on in the background, this whole other little mini plot line which feeds into later in the film. I mean, that's just really fun storytelling where you have multiple things going on at the same time. I like to see it as I often in my mind call it like the what would you call it, the tree canopy scene in Jurassic Park, where you have Sam Neill and the kids are up in the trees, and it's like a restful moment where you just have to have the audience needs to rest for a bit. But you do kind of multiple things at the same time. So what you're doing is you're giving the audience a rest from all the action. So they have this quiet little scene up in the trees. Okay, you're giving the audience a rest. You're also explaining maybe a bit of the geography of the island. You're showing kind of all the options of how to get away from dinosaurs that are on the ground. Like what would you do in that situation? We'll climb up a tree, probably be safer in a tree. You're developing the Sam Neill's relationship with the kids. You're reminding the audience of what dinosaurs are to them. You just kind of see them as monsters after a while, but that scene kind of reminds the audience of that dinosaurs are quite cool and all the rest of it. It serves multiple purposes, which I think is what a good lean movie wants to do. And what actually the second half fails at, I feel, in that second half kind of stops being a movie. It starts being like a TV finale of something. I don't know, Miami Vice. I've never seen Miami Vice, but like a typical 80s cop show from the 90s or 80s. maybe Knight Rider or something, where it's just like each scene just is what it is. Like you'd have a shot of the bad guy torturing. I mean, there's a scene. This bad guy, the main villain of the piece, is torturing his one of the officers, one of his informant, baddie, corrupt, dirty cop officers, like for information or to get him to do something. And the officer's like, "No, I want to get out. I don't want to be involved with you, whatever." But he's torturing him, and he has this rat under puts a rat on his stomach. He takes his shirt off, puts a rat on his stomach, and puts a bucket over the rat. Metal bucket, and then starts heating up the bucket, and he's talking about how the rat's going to dig into him, and this guy's screaming in pain, and I'm picturing this like massive bloody kind of horrible Game of Thrones type kind of mess going on. I think it actually was in Game of Thrones, that exact kind of concept was. I'm not sure George R. R. Martin or whoever was working on Game of Thrones got it from this movie, but yeah, anyway, they had this scene in it, and I was just picturing this horrific bloody mess. When the cop kind of caved and said, "Yes, I'll work for you, I'll do what you want, whatever," he takes off the bucket, and there's like Paul takes the rat off, of course, the stomach, and there's just a few little scratches, and it's like, I mean, I used to have a pet rat when I was a kid, and the rats they got really sharp claws, and like it was kind of, I would get a bloody hand after a while if I was playing with them for a while, because they're pretty sharp claws on them, they really kind of do dig into your skin. So I was like, oh, like he just looked like basically looked like my rat, basically, when if he was on my stomach for about 5-10 minutes, kind of walking around doing stuff, just a bit of scratches, a bit of blood. It's like, okay, that was a bit weird. So that was when the film started to go downhill. It was that scene, I think, was just like, oh, okay. So I thought I'd be like really serious wounds there, but fair enough. So, and that was like a 10-minute sequence, a really long sequence, and then it was just beat by beat. It was like, this is the scene when this character says this and that character says that, and it was just like a TV show at that point for me. It kind of stopped doing car chases. Like, the best car chases were over by, I'd say, halfway through the film. You have to wait till the end of the movie before you get another car chase, and it's not really as good as what it was at the beginning, really. You have a lot of scenes of kind of exposition. You have a scene it's kind of got fun on a houseboat. And I saw a houseboat, and Paul Walker's character's living on a houseboat, and I was like, oh, great, okay. Are they going to play with, Paul Walker on the ocean, in a houseboat, and the houseboat gets cut in half, or something smashes through the car, smashes through the houseboat, or turns into a car, or I don't know, gets attached to the car, and there's a fight in the houseboat while there's a fight in the car, or I don't know, really something playful. It just gives up so many ideas. But there isn't anything. They don't play with it at all. It's just like the baddies come on the boat, and they're looking for the girl who likes Paul, the main female, who was kind of the love interest of Paul Walker, who's currently going out with the main villain, and she's kind of there on the houseboat, and the baddie's like, where is she? And they're like, oh, she's not here, and they look in, and she hides, and they don't find her. But it's so much potential with that houseboat.